Welcome everybody, my name is Colton from Zimtu Capital, and today we have President and CEO of Core Assets, Nick Rodway. Nick, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me. How are you doing today?
I'm great, it's a great day. We'll just jump right into it. The first question, we wanted to just start by reintroducing the company back to the viewers if they haven't seen you for a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot has happened, I guess, since we first spoken, I guess, which has been quite some time ago now. But as you know, the markets right now are doing quite well, especially the macro side of things. And, you know, we have a polymetallic type of currents at our silver lime area. So it's pretty important for us because all these metals are increasing in price. And, you know, we've got a little bit of something for everyone, you know, so far, you know. But I guess just the main thing is to remind people that what we're dealing with is a pretty early stage opportunity. There's not many stories out there quite like this one that I've seen, you know, in the past couple of years, and in particular in Canada, and even further, more particular with carbonate replacement type models. There's not a whole lot of those occurrences that take place in Canada.
Where are the majority of them?
The majority of them in the world are in Mexico.
Okay.
Chihuahua, Mexico would be they call it the Central Mexican CRD belt.
Okay.
So there's a number of world-class deposits there, and then as you go a little bit northwest and get into Utah and say Arizona, there's a couple of world-class deposits there as well. But you know, one thing that all these areas have in common, you know, just like up here in Canada, we're all, you know, the structural deformation here is the same, the ages of the rocks are the same, and we're all located, you know, on the western Pacific margins of, you know, obviously the Pacific Ocean and the continental crust. So, you know, there's a lot of commonalities all the way down to, you know, even down to Argentina. Right? All those areas are very, you know, prolific porphyry style deposits in the area, and a lot of those porphyries are associated with skarns and also carbonate replacement. And in order to get carbonate replacement, you need to have a rock that you can replace, of course, and that needs to be a calcium-rich unit, limestone, dolomite, marble, those types of units. So where we are located in Atlin, there is a large mapped bed of limestone, and that surface is about 40 kilometers by 60 kilometers, and it's visible sporadically as you traverse across the terrain. But that kind of sets us apart from a lot of the other projects, say down in the southern Stikine terrain, Golden Triangle area, you know. But these carbonate replacement, say mineralization or deposits are associated with, they're intrusion related. So a porphyry is there somewhere. Whether that porphyry is mineralized or it's been expended of all its mineralization, we don't know at this time. But the goal would be to track these carbonate replacement mantos and chimneys. Mantos being blanket-like bodies, and chimneys being vertically oriented bodies. We want to track those things. Should be continuous back to our porphyry source.
And you've been trying to track them through channel samples and stuff like that, so maybe you could go into the last 3 news releases about what results you've seen?
Yeah, no, for sure. So the channel sampling isn't so much as a tracking technique.
Okay.
It's more, the channel sampling was more to show that because we had one news release out there in September, I believe it was, where we took 257 grab samples, and they were all of massive sulfide. So, you know, one would ask, you know, are you taking grab samples all in the one spot? Are you selectively sampling? You know, because generally when you do these first pass sampling programs, you pick the shiniest rock for the bag. That's the prospector, you know, approach. So, but with these carbonate replacement type situations, you can clear, you know, it's white rock, which is your limestone, and then your ore fluid or your sulfide is generally pretty black. Due to sphalerite, which is a zinc bearing mineral. So you can clearly, there's a big distinction in what is going to run high and what isn't, you know. So our goal with the channel sampling, it was more about showing that our samples were not selective in nature. They were pretty consistent. So what we did is we chose a few of the most easily accessible areas, and we got a saw and we cut down into the rock about 2 inches. It varies from channel to channel, and then width is about 2 inches as well, again plus or minus a little bit. And what we proved was that all of our grab samples were not selective. They were just, you know, of the massive sulfide, and it's consistent across the whole width of these CRM occurrences, which is carbonate replacement mineralization.
And where did the channel samples come from? So what areas did you kind of take them from?
So we focused on the continuation of the Silver Lime project area, because as we spoke, I know we spoke offline earlier, I was explaining to you how we have one contiguous land package, but within that land package, which we call the blue property, we have two projects. And it's the same thing as a company having a project in Newfoundland and a project in Nevada, except we have everything kind of in the one area. So one would think that would give us more focus there, and we can kind of form our theses and all of our exploration programs all around the one area, which obviously saves costs. But to answer your question there, all of the channel sampling took place at the Silver Lime project this year. And it was because of the amount of superficial mineralization that we discovered in the 2021 field season. So we thought we brought that project to our highest priority because of that discovery, and in particular it was the Grizzly Manto, which is quite substantial blanket-like structure that ranges in width from 5 meters to potentially 20 meters in thickness. We don't really know yet because there's a lot of talus on top of it, but when we sampled that area, when we grab sampled it for a continuous, it was about just over 500 meters continuous, which is very rare to find that. And then it had average grades. I mean, don't quote me on it, but it was around 100 grams silver, grams per ton silver. Our zinc numbers were very elevated, around 8-9%, and then lead around 1-2%. So that puts us up in the higher quartile of deposits in the world if you were to put them on a graph type thing for zinc, lead, and silver. So superficially, obviously, it's quite appealing at this time.
And with CRDs, isn't they're not usually showing that sort of large areas? Is that from what I know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these things, especially in this day and age, are blind discoveries. So you're using a lot of different techniques to vector just to get a sniff of mineralization. A 50 centimeter width of massive sulfide with zinc, lead, and silver, that can be quite exciting. Depending on where you are in the world and what you're doing. But for this area that we're in, I mean, the glaciers have been receding, and there has not been a whole lot of work in the area. So I think that's why we were lucky enough to run into what we have now. So right now, again, I've been, I read a lot of literature on these things, and that's how I kind of was able to figure out which way these structures are going and whatnot. But it doesn't really, there's not a lot of documentation on this much superficial expression. And again, superficial expression can be kind of confused, and the way I kind of explain it is, some people would say expression could be alteration, which is not necessarily massive sulfide, but we have, 6.6 kilometers by 1.8 and growing of, massive sulfide occurrences, and each of these 200 plus occurrences are separate occurrences on the property, so that's what makes it pretty.
You've got to think it's
pretty crazy, right?
So now, talking about the area, you mentioned the glacial retreation and stuff like that. What's the accessibility like up there? I know some people are interested in, is it difficult to get up there? I know there's only one motel or hotel. What's it like up there?
Yeah, so I mean, you said the buzzword right there. Those hotels, right? So it is a hotel job, and we do have a hotel there from May 15th to September 15th, and more if we can, we can push the season as much as we possibly can. But the fastest way to get to the property would be helicopter from Atlin, BC. You can get to the Labrador showing 12 minutes, no problem. 25 minutes round trip type thing. The Silver Lime is kind of in the next cove over in a place called Wilson Bay. Probably takes around 15 to 20 minutes one way in helicopter. But if you were to get just a regular speedboat, not even going that fast, 40, 60 kilometers an hour, you can get down there about an hour type thing. So and then from the Labrador port there, you can walk into that showing. It's maybe a little less than 500 meters in, so you can get in there on foot. And
is that comparable to other projects you've worked on, or is it a little bit more difficult, or what's it
so
like?
I mean, with the places I've worked mainly in the high north, Baffin Island. So everything that I've done in my day has been really expensive and very hard to get to. But the terrain actually at the Silver Lime area, there's no trees there or anything. We're at about starting at around 1,200 meters above sea level, and then it goes as high. I think the highest peak there's around 2,200.
Okay.
The Grizzly Manto is at around 1,800. So we're not talking crazy elevations, especially compared to say Argentinian projects.
Yeah.
They can get up to 6,000 meters. But again, we're in Canada's north, right? Our weather is harsher, and seasons are shorter. So there's going to be challenges, 100%. But it's certainly not. It's more accessible than what I'm personally used to.
Right. Okay. Well, that's great. And so in terms of accessibility, you've got a drill contract signed up. So there's who did you sign up, and what time? When are they going up there?
So Dorado Drilling is the name of the company. It's a BC company. From the Okanagan area, and we're planning. Every day we're kind of planning on doing more planning with this drill program, but it is locked in, and we're excited to get the drill up there, and basically we're planning on doing 5,000 meters. Okay. But if we can do more, we certainly will. I mean, it's in the budget. We are fully cashed up right now. We got about 3.6 million Canadian in the bank.
Great. And
that fits well within our budget. We actually got a nice bit of wiggle room.
Good.
So we're quite fortunate for that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of whenever you bring a drill into an area for the first time, there's a lot of unknowns. Right. So you don't want to push yourself too much at the very beginning if you don't, if you don't know the terrain. Now the people who are working with me, VPX, who's working with us, and are also our consultants. These guys and girls are all they're used to this kind of terrain, very mountainous type terrain. But the Grizzly target is the only target that's really on much of a slope. The sulfide city area is very flat, very easy to get to. So I don't think we're gonna have a whole lot of issues with that. But weather is always something in the back of my mind. Some days you can get absolutely beautiful days up there, but whenever you get a warm front meaning a cold front, from the glacier, it creates some fog, right? So you're going to get mist in the area, but as long as you're not doing any huge long lining with a helicopter or geophysical surveys, as long as you got those out of the way, kind of thing, which we have, of course. Then I think it should be doable, right? Yeah.
Well, nothing good comes easy, anyways. So, so what's next? So drilling's next. Is there anything else to look forward to?
Well, there is. Yeah, there's we have quite a few little news releases that are coming out. And again, I keep telling people I like to do a kind of 2.5 weeks. Have an update for investors every 2.5 weeks, and why wouldn't you? There a lot of things happen within 2.5 weeks when you're ramping up for a big exploration season. But right now, I mean, we're just trying to get all of our kind of ducks in a row here, get all our layers together. One being the geophysics. So the geophysics is one of the more instrumental things we did, and I mentioned, I think, in an interview before how generally you look at your geophysics first, and then you'll kind of find areas that look interesting through whether it be magnetics or conductivity or resistivity, and then you'll go to those areas, and that kind of helps you cut down on the amount of area you got to focus on, right? So, but with our what we did this year with our V10 survey, which was a heli-borne survey, it was done after we came upon the Grizzly area, and the Grizzly area is what started getting people excited because again, it exists, it's tangible, it's at the surface, and it's not common to find things like that. You can get little tiny occurrences of carbonate replacement, in a lot of places. It's not that uncommon. Right. But to find a very, very distinct large manto like that is crazy exciting. So once we put our layers of our channel sampling and our grab samples on top of this high resolution geophysical survey, there's going to be a lot of new things that are going to show up. So we are looking at that right now, and that could be a news release that might be out in the next 4 weeks type thing. And there might be a few things before then, and then there's going to be a lot of things between now and May 15th or June 1st. We hope to start drilling first week of June if possible, right? But I don't really know from what I've been told, this year there hasn't been as much snow up there as usual, so we might get an earlier start. But again, there's still lots of time for storms and everything. So that's something that we can't control, obviously. But we're trying to do the best we can, and plan the things we can control. Right?
Yeah, of course. And you brought some rocks here too as well. I think they're from the property. Which maybe you could describe which one is which.
Yeah, well, I guess we touched on how the blue property consists of two projects.
Yeah.
So this was actually one that I picked up when I went up there the first time, and I think it was 2017 or 2018. And this is a classic example of what you call a magnetite skarn. So this would still be hosted in a limestone unit, but it's very high-grade copper compared to the Manto, say the Grizzly Manto area of silver lime. So I think that Laverdere area is not directly related to the silver lime. There's about 15 kilometers in between. And there's several major structures that are coming down through this property, which make it obviously very appealing for exploration. But that particular rock that you had in your hand there, that runs about 10% copper, and it's mainly tied up in a mineral called chalcopyrite. And then there's also a gold credit in there, about 1 gram per ton, but it varies. It goes it goes down to around 2.2 grams per ton, and I've seen as high as around 4 or 5. And that particular target, again, we're looking for a porphyry there, but there's several skarns that run down the side of a large fault called the Llewellyn Fault Zone. And this area has had a couple drill holes, actually very shallow ones. There was one of 50 meters there of 1.7% copper, so very respectable. Gold was never assayed. That was back in the 70s. And then there is one deeper hole of about 200 meters there that registered about 0.27% copper from surface down to 175, and there were some higher grade intercepts between 175 and 200. But again, that project is a company maker on its own. Yeah. But then, of course, the next rock there is that one there is so I was telling you about just you compare that to the table right now. The table is your limestone, and then that's your ore fluid, right? So it's a big difference. And that's why in Mexico, dating back to the 1600s, a lot of these projects they started mining them artisanally, so just mom and pop operations, family operations, and they would mine those for hundreds of years before major companies would come in, put a drill hole in it, and that's when they started to learn that these channels, it's a network of channels beneath surface, and they can be stacked, and it's quite they can be up, right now I think the biggest one in the world is just over 150 million tons, so that's very substantial. And remember, that's not including the porphyry. So if you can have a porphyry with these carbonate replacement type structures coming out, then you not only get this high grade metals budget, but you also get the mine life.
So when you're up there, you're seeing rocks this color within limestone that's whitish.
That's correct.
So it literally is looking kind of like this.
Yeah. I mean, anyone could go up there and look at it and be like, "There's something different here," right? But unless you knew exactly, what you're looking for, it is difficult to put the pieces together. Because even with, when I went up there for the first time, I saw these replacement textures and whatnot, and I wasn't really sure 100% of what it was. First thing that came to my mind was a deposit type called MVT, which is Mississippi Valley type. Those deposits are generally lower grade in silver, lower tonnage as well. And then as I looked into these carbonate replacements, I found that there was specific things that do set carbonate replacement deposits apart from MVTs. One being, temperature of formation. Geochemically, they're different, and you generally see higher silver numbers in a carbonate replacement deposit. You want to see over 400 grams per ton. At the end of the day, your resource number is going to be generally lower than that, around 90 to 100, kind of, and it can fluctuate plus or minus, right? But these are large deposits, and that's why we're in that area, because we're looking for something large. And that particular piece there is mainly sphalerite, so that's your zinc bearing mineral. So that is a part of the Grizzly Manto. So that one, there is a substantial amount of that on the ground there.
And you can't see it in the camera probably, but both these rocks are just sparkling up, different colors, lots of stuff going on there. So they look great as well.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, is there anything else you wanted to leave on and just kind of give viewers an idea of?
Well, I mean, again, we're going to keep pumping out some results, news, and we're basically just going strong. And again, the markets right now are on our side in the way of the commodities now. Who knows what the global world now, what's going to happen in the near term. But
Sure.
Copper was up around $5, I believe, there yesterday, almost US, and zinc is holding in strong there at a $1.85 type thing. And again, once you have if you have a polymetallic deposit and your minerals act well together and they're easily separable, metallurgically docile, then that gives you an upper hand, because sometimes zinc goes up, copper goes down, right? So how do you pay for your copper? You pay for your copper with your zinc, and vice versa, right? And that's how you keep a good project in production. That's how your financial model stays strong, and that's how you get a good NPV. If you get to that to the finance side of things. And get PEA and then feasibility. That's the kind of things that, and a large project, long mine life, that's what major companies are looking for, right? But thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No problem. Core seems to be checking all those boxes, so it's great to hear from you. And of course, we'll keep you updated on any of the new news that comes out, and we'll get you in for some more interviews as well. So thanks for coming.
Have a good one, man.
Thanks.
Thank you.